Morning once again, and thank you for keeping it NTV Uganda, especially Morning at NTV. Sarah Birete, the Executive Director for the Center for Constitutional Governance, is joining us online to talk about the drama that unfolded in Kayunga as we wait for the vote to take center stage tomorrow on Thursday. Please bring us up to speed with what you are making of this situation unfolding in Kayunga district, the favoritism that we did see meted out on the president, but then we did see tear gas being thrown at the opposition, the favoritism that has actually transpired in this case. What do you make of it, Sarah Birete?
Good morning, Romeo, and good morning, viewers.
That took center stage in Kayunga district by-election for the LC5 chairperson. We did see President Museveni being given leeway to enter this jurisdiction and campaign for their flag bearer, that is Andrew. But then for Harriet's, camp, we did see tear gas being thrown at the opposition. What do you make of this? They couldn't even allow Robert Kyagulanyi to go there simply because President Museveni was in the same jurisdiction. What do you make of this?
Well, I think what we are seeing in Kayunga is a repeat of what Ugandans witnessed in the just concluded general elections. High involvement of the military, high abuse of human rights, lack of a level playing field, and lack of control of the electoral exercise by the Electoral Commission. If you see the final campaigns in Kayunga, every candidate is supposed to have their designated venues and sub-counties where they are going to campaign. So there seems to be a thinking that the two leaders of political parties, the top contenders in the by-election, cannot campaign in the same district. President Museveni was supposed to be at the venue gazetted for his candidate, his party candidate. And Honorable Kyagulanyi was supposed also to be at a venue gazetted by Electoral Commission of his party candidate. So we woke up to a siege of Bobi Wine's home or Honorable Kyagulanyi's home in Magere, high military siege, arrest of his assistants at home, and they who were arrested brutally according to his information on Twitter. Then we saw high military deployment in Kayunga district. This is a simple LC5 by-election. According to Article 2012 of the Constitution, the police is supposed to invite the army in areas where they have failed to control. So I think it would be important to hear from police, which is originally gazetted to participate in elections and keep law and order, as to whether our police, under the leadership of Okoth, have no capacity to conduct a simple LC5 by-election, and they need the assistance of the army. And if the police has not asked for the assistance of the army, of course, the army has continuously vulgarized Uganda's electoral democracy, and this is very unfortunate. We also see excessive force, the buses that were carrying people to Kayunga by NRM, the excessive use of military might by the NRM. It is not really necessary. The NRM is neither threatened in terms of numbers, however much we don't agree with the manner in which they got the so-called numbers. They do not have any threat in terms of multi-party dispensation in the country. But we know the tribal sentiments in Kayunga also propagated. I have been listening to the speech. The president said that he's in Kayunga to fight the sectarianism agenda.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but was that really the purpose? Or is perpetrating it indirectly? Kayunga is a district in Uganda, and we saw massive loss of NRM support in Uganda. So it's like NRM wants, it's a do or die for them to try to assert themselves on Uganda, a region that has really largely voted for change. If this was a vote, genuine vote of the people, without abuse and vulgarization of electoral processes, it would be okay. But the way they have started, the military deployment in Kayunga, the beating of opposition supporters. I saw leaders injured and in hospital, including the candidate, the NUP candidate, Harriet Nakawede. They are alleged to have been beaten and their vehicle knocked by SFC. These are crimes. These are electoral crimes. And the Electoral Commission, if at all it wants to reassert its authority that it lost in 2021 elections, it needs to come up and explain what happened.
Sarah Birete.
It needs to explain whether there is a level playing field in Kayunga. It needs to explain whether the will of the people will be expressed in that direction.
Indeed. Sarah, let's talk about the precedents that this sets for the electoral processes of this country. Do you think the violence we are seeing being meted out on these civilians, the candidates themselves being roughed up by members of the police and military, do you think such acts are going to set a bad precedent whereby people will stay away from the polls, just like what we saw in the 2021 election, where you did have more than 8 million people not going to the polls, majority of whom are women? Now you do have this Kayunga by-election, a woman being roughed up, and young children are watching. Young leaders or females who would have wanted to run for office in 2026 have been watching. Don't you think such factors make it impossible for these young women to actually participate in politics because of how rough it is?
True, Romeo, and it's not only young people. I am sure there will be very low turn-up of women voters in Kayunga. You know, women and young people do not want to associate with violence. And the regime knows this. So when they see that they don't have the youth majority vote or the women majority vote, given that the opposition candidate is female, then they perpetrate violence with the intention of scaring away voters who are not pro them. Because if you beat people on the last campaigning day and deploy members and deploy, vehicles that should be in DRC where we are fighting ADF, they are in Kayunga, as if ADF has shifted from DRC to Kayunga. The intention is to scare people so that there is low voter turnout, which creates room for rigging. The intention is to make sure you manipulate and control the consent of the people. And that ceases to be an election, because an election is about free will, free expression of will of the people as who should govern them. So Electoral Commission needs to tell Kayunga voters on whether they have a platform to express their free will as who should be their LC5 chairman out of this election.
Of course, President Museveni has come out one too many times to say violence, it shouldn't be meted out on civilians courtesy of the military, but it has continued. Do you actually envisage a situation whereby, even ahead of 2026, this is the order of the day? Every time we have an electoral process, there will be violence being meted out against civilians. Do you think this is the order of the day until 2026?
Well, the president says one thing and does the other when it comes to human rights and the electoral democracy in this country. So I don't know whether Ugandans can take his word to the bank. I doubt. He has been at war with Uganda. If you see the exchanges of the police with the Uganda about Mairoland, about issues that are resolved in the Constitution, issues that should be tabled to Parliament if there is contestation, the orders he has given to RDCs about Uganda. So he is at war with Uganda. He is at war with citizens in this country that do not support him. So once you are not a member of NRM, you are at war. You are treated as an enemy by our military, by our NRM establishment. And this is escalating violence in Uganda and vulgarizing our elections.
All right, that is Sarah Birete. Thank you very much for joining us. She is the Executive Director for the Center for Constitutional Governance. Thank you very much for that humble